All right, here we go. Rocky Top Insider postgame. We are here right on the field of Neyland Stadium. Tennessee takes the loss to Pittsburgh today in the Johnny Majors Classic by a score of
41-34.
41-34. That is your final right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And ultimately, Ryan, what a game it was. Well, we're going to be breaking down this game right now here for you. Ryan Schumpert, Ric Butler of Rocky Top Insider. Ryan, I'll throw it right back to you, man. What were your opening thoughts on Tennessee's loss today? I know a loss here, the first one, the Josh Heupel era, but one in which you have, 75 collected points in the game. What's your biggest takeaway?
There's a lot of them. I mean, honestly, one, I think you start with the missed opportunities Tennessee had. A couple touchdown passes that they should have had it early in the first quarter, kind of capitalizing on when their defense played well. And then I think the biggest story of the game, Pitt dominated along the line of scrimmage. Tennessee couldn't run the ball, could not get any pass rush at all. Pittsburgh had a lot of time to throw, Kenny Pickett did, and really I thought Pittsburgh controlled the game. And that kind of brings me to my third point. Joe Milton gets knocked out, Hendon Hooker comes in. Hooker struggles a little bit early, some of that with the pass rush. And then Tennessee's offense found a new life kind of halfway through the third quarter, and some mistakes that cost them from tying the game late. But it looked much, much better there with Hendon Hooker under center. And I think we're going to have a quarterback battle competition. It's going to be fascinating to watch going forward.
I think you might be exactly right, man. You know, when Hendon Hooker came in for that first drive, you could tell that maybe it just didn't look like it was all there. Maybe a little bit of stage fright almost, but certainly once Hendon Hooker started to get a couple of those drives going in the second half, you could very much see that that was a different quarterback on the field. What were your, let's talk about just offense real quick from a whole though. What is your perception of Tennessee's offense in a game where by the start of halftime almost, Tennessee is down 5 starters: Tyon Evans, Jabari Small, Joe Milton, Cooper Mays, and there's one more. And Jalen Hyatt. Jalen Hyatt, the wide receiver for Tennessee, goes down in the first quarter early. 5 injuries to starters on the offense. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, for one, I think the running back one, I mean, you saw a true freshman, Jalen Wright, basically played every single snap there in the second half.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, look, Tennessee didn't have a ton of lanes to run through anyway, but I do think that hurt them in some of the red zone opportunities that they had that they weren't able to capitalize on. And then Hendon Hooker, he changed the game with his legs. I mean, Tennessee's quarterbacks were running for their lives, and Hooker has the best legs of any of them, and he could do some things with it that certainly Joe Milton couldn't, certainly Harrison Bailey wouldn't have been able to do. And look, we've talked about this in the preseason. Hendon Hooker doesn't fit exactly what Josh Heupel wants to do, but he's had more success as a starting quarterback than anyone on this Tennessee roster. We didn't see him take a whole lot of shots, which we know is Heupel's offense is predicated on, but we saw him do a lot of really good things, especially extending plays with his legs that no one else could do.
You know, that's a really interesting point you just brought up. I do feel like maybe now that you mentioned that as well, Joe Milton, I do feel like maybe, I don't know if it was his playbook or just the decision-making that he was doing, but Joe Milton liked to go down the field a lot more than it seemed like Hendon Hooker did as well. But again, maybe it's just kind of figuring it all out for the first time. And again, maybe that first game against Bowling Green, that's just Milton's first game. And maybe this one, that's just Hooker's first game. And they're going to kind of evaluate as they go from here. But let's talk about that, evaluating what is next for these Tennessee Volunteers. They'll play again next Saturday against Tennessee Tech. And then the SEC schedule begins. What are your thoughts on just where this Tennessee team is 2 weeks into the season? Also, 2 weeks away from SEC play.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of it's about what we expected. Defense, you know there's depth issues. You knew there was going to be questions at the pass rusher, especially with Byron Young, who was out. Again today, Tennessee will get him back going forward. That should be a huge piece. You knew the secondary. They weren't great last year. It was a lot of the same guys back. So you knew some of those questions. Offensive line, I didn't feel like was going to be a strength going in the year. So some of that stuff, not a surprise. To me, everything about what we've seen so far and going forward, it all involves around the quarterback play.
Yeah.
Josh Heupel's got 2 weeks. Really, I'll even give him 3 weeks. That Florida game's going to be really tough to win.
Yeah.
But right after that, you get in the thick of October with Ole Miss game, South Carolina game, Missouri game, some winnable games. You need to know who your quarterback is going forward. You need a team to be able to rally around him and to be building on one guy. And he was pretty non-committal about it post-game, which isn't a shock. I mean, he's going to want to watch the tape. But I think that's a huge question going forward. Is they Tennessee turn to Hendon Hooker, or they try to keep playing with Joe Milton?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, for us right here at Neyland Stadium, watching the Tennessee-Pittsburgh game today, that'll about wrap it up. But make sure you stay tuned to RockyTopInsider.com. That's where we're going to have all of our good work. That's where we're going to be breaking down this Tennessee-Pittsburgh game all week long and getting you ready for Tennessee versus Tennessee Tech next weekend as well. But for us doing it here today, that's going to wrap it up. For Ryan Schumpert, for Ric Butler, hey, you've been listening to Rocky Top Insider's postgame. We'll see you soon.